This is a second video. So this is gonna be one of my first debate videos. So if people do wanna argue against it in the comment section or have an idea, I do expect respect, decency, and common sense. At least try to think before you put on your comment. I don't know, these things can get out of hand very easily, and as the title suggests, depending on what you were looking for, what the algorithm gave you, this video might not be for you. So you either just click away or you try to be civil and you make a normal debate. Oh, I'm gonna have a lot of edit work after this again. So I've been on and off or in the red pill community. Basically, I'll Google what the red pill community is. Okay, being red pill means recognizing social realities like male oppression and biological realities like female hypergamy. Or basically just the differences between males and females, and it just strongly implied how things are between them, like status, attraction. I think you've seen it before on Reddit. It's like very superficial. It's basically always about looks maxing, and trying to compete against other men in relationships to see whether you're more fertile or more strong. It's just bullshit like that, basically. What I believe is I've fallen into this red pill trap before myself multiple times, because sometimes it does seem convincing. The way they put up statistics, the way they pull out numbers out of their asses, the way they assume that every woman is out for money, out for status, out for masculine men who are at least 6 feet tall. How it's just toxic, basically. How there's a lot of young guys who are single, or they just happen to be they just never get into relationships, or they had bad past experiences in relationships, and they feel like they're pressured into it, or they feel like if they don't get into a relationship and lose their virginity, that they're gonna be losers. It's like always a competitive sport, basically, among these guys, and it's kind of upsetting that they also like go as far as doing interviews with women and then cut out the genuine opinions they have and only leave in the superficial opinions. Some women make jokes like, "Oh, I only want to have a tree trunk of a man," and then the guy believes it, and he's like, "Oh, see, women don't care about us," and that things like that. It's just, I don't know. I once believed it because first of all, I'm trans, female to male person, or trans guy rather, and I'm not tall. I'm not the broadest, I'm not the most masculine thing out there, especially with my voice. Sometimes I do feel like women ignore me romantically. I'm usually just a friend, or a very funny friend, or almost like a brother. And you know those things do hurt when you really are genuinely attracted to a woman. But that's also why I don't want to fall in love, because it's just exhausting. It's always dramatic for me, and especially with my autism. And I'll get into my other disorders in another video eventually, for the understanding people out there who are willing to learn more about different perspectives of being like someone with neurodivergency. So the red pill community, like most communities, they're based on the matrix. Like you either take the blue pill or the red pill, and then there's now the black pill, which is a more extreme version of the red pill, where you just are nihilistic. Basically everything's just like, it's either everything or nothing, or everything's just useless. Everything you try, everything you work for, is just like, in the end of the day, they don't care. And that's basically the thought process of these pills. Women are more than they lead on, and I don't want to join either pill community, because it's just, I believe in a bit of all communities, that there's good essence in there. Like even the worst politics, there's always one good opinion in there among all the bad ones. You kind of have to be open to listen to. There's a lot of guys who really believe that emotions make them weak and vulnerable, whilst many others like myself believe that if you are able to expose yourself, open up to someone, especially your partner, that you're actually stronger because you are not afraid to be vulnerable. And that makes you strong, because let's say someone tries to abuse that or tries to go against it, you can always say, yeah, but I'm just a person. And the person that is like laughing at you for being emotional, they're not, because they're forcing down their own emotional stress and they just don't want to admit it. If there's someone who's not supportive in a friendship or in a relationship when you're just sad or you're having depression or something, then they're not right for you, and they're not people who care about anything but superficial ideas anyway. And that it's kind of like the red pill community, but they're just a person being like that, and it has nothing to do with being like a competition on virginity or anything. It's just, they're just people who grew up in a world where they think that money, status is everything, and reputation, and as soon as, especially like family members, as soon as it's ruined, they start yelling in your face. Like being open and vulnerable is really important because you communicate. It sucks sometimes to do that, but it's one of the only ways to sometimes be able to tell someone how you actually feel about something. It could be angry, anger could be disappointment, it could be jealousy, and it's like lies. It's like lying. Like the more you hold back, the more you have that later, and it will all come down crashing plane on that person you're trying to tell it to, and you're gonna panic eventually because of you just holding it back for so long. It's just not the timing. So that's the thing. It's never a good timing to tell or talk about problems and emotions. It's never a good time. Never. You can never go to someone on their best day and be like, "Yep, I'm gonna say something very upsetting, and they're just gonna be fine now." That's not how it works. Especially like guys. Also, even me, I was born pretty neutrally. Sometimes in a feminine way, sometimes in an actually more masculine way, because I had a bit of both sides of my family. Some were very masculine females, others were just very feminine guys in my family. So I've seen a bit of all, but it always comes down to status, and it doesn't matter if they're feminine or masculine. Like it doesn't matter if they're gay or straight in my family. They're superficial, and it's upsetting, because you expect family to be there for you. So that doesn't have to always be for relationships, romantically or sexually. Especially for, like I wanted to say, both females and males in my family have been raised. And I'm gonna say females and males because I don't know who transitioned in my family, and I'm trying to respect people, their identities. So I'm just gonna say both biological females and males, but that doesn't make them any less of a man or a woman on binary for coming out eventually. But like I said, it's like some of us have been raised very harshly and superficially with a lot of racism, misogyny, a lot of like hatred towards the world, and I still have to unlearn it, and it's not easy. But there's always a way to learn. There's always a way to grow out of it. You just have to be open-minded, and that's what Red Pill community doesn't want to be. They don't want to listen to the other side. They just don't like that. That's just what radical beliefs are. They can be left, they can be right, politics, like left wing, right wing. They have their extremes and they have their narrow-minded thinking. It's upsetting because in some way they make change, because the red pill community does support change. They want you to be better, improve and work out and have a better job and not sit there like an idiot in his chair and just whine about it. I mean, you can be upset, but you cannot be a victim to it. Basically, that makes sense. Like Andrew Tate's red pillar kind of started the community as well, like by accident. Like people, supporters, even my own nephew is a red pillar, and they have their beliefs of change and proving yourself and not sitting there like a loser or a potato back in the chair every day and whining. Makes sense. You shouldn't just sit there and let everything run over you. But at the same time, like if it does happen, then okay, then it happens. Allow it to happen and then get back up again. And you're not a loser for failing or falling back down again. That's basically what the red pill community doesn't say. They also don't say that you cannot just work out and your depression is gone. There's always this argument that they say like depression is not a real thing, or disorders are just all in your head. And I'll say to that, yes, of course they're in our heads. Otherwise, they wouldn't be a mental disorder. So I don't understand that logic there, but yeah. Same like with Andrew Tate, he says things like people are stuck in a hole of misery and their own foolishness, their own mistakes they don't want to fix or are too afraid to fix. And the way he says it is very harsh, and that's also why he caused a lot of hate towards himself. But the essence, I guess, I understand. That's why I was into this red pill community multiple times. Sometimes we do sit in our own problems and misery despite our disorders, and we just, like I said, we just stick in it. We're like glue, just stuck to it. There's always a way out. There's always something you can do to get out of there. And even if it is like leaving home, or like what I did when my parents were very toxic and everything started fine, and then we had financial issues and there was drinking involved, and my parents, like my mom and stepdad, started fighting every day and I was getting blamed for it. It wasn't the best choice, but I just said I left to leave the house basically at 18 years old, luckily, not younger. And I was very frightened, homeless for a while, and then I had to pick up every trap from zero. Like I had to rebuild my whole entire life. I'm thankful that I did, and I still see my parents, but it was scary and it wasn't easy, and I had to admit that I needed help, and I had to admit that I cannot do this by myself, and I was still identifying as a woman. So even like I said, that's just what I'm trying to say. Both women and men sometimes are raised very harshly. Like a few days ago I saw a few drunks, and there was a young guy, there was a girlfriend or friend, I don't know, and she was very tall, she was very masculine, very harsh, and there was another guy who was actually a gay guy. They were all drunks. It was hilarious. And they sat next to each other, and the way they talked to each other was like equals. even though they were cursing and calling each other names. They were just drunkards being kind of physical to each other. But it's just like they all grew up in very sad environments or situations, and I hope they get out of it. But that's the thing, like they are gonna struggle and they're gonna be emotional. They're gonna sometimes refuse help, and that makes us human to be stubborn and try to deny our feelings and try to deny our anger and past. And but we have to face it, and that's one of the strongest things in the end of the day. That's one of the strongest things, to face your fears and deal with it, or tell it in the face like to fuck off. And trust me, that's a freeing feeling. It's not gonna be forever, and other obstacles will come back and they will just fuck you. But for as long as you can, like, you cannot give up, right? And you cannot just let things run over you. So to the red pill community, I can only say I understand your frustrations and I understand your struggles. But ironically, you say you want change, and you sit there and blame others, especially women, all the time for things that you do or things that you have done, and just the things they don't respect themselves. Because some women have boundaries, and that's what modern day says or teaches you. You have to teach yourself to have boundaries, especially as a woman, because yes, the red pill community might not say that, and the red pill community will say, yeah, but males also get sexually assaulted, guys also get like bullied, guys also have suicide rates. And that's true, but at the end of the day, women still get assaulted a lot more, or people try to identify as a woman, like trans women, for instance, they get assaulted a lot more. Black people get assaulted a lot more. There's also a whole debate about their own behavior and their own way of dealing with their problems. Basically, think about yourself first before you think about someone else. It is just, if you want to go by numbers and facts, right, then that is the facts that I just give you. You have to take it or you don't. But that's all. I'm gonna end the video. I'm gonna have to edit a lot. God. But yeah, see you later.